The new Walking Dead spin-off, The Ones Who Live, has everything and more I would expect from a Walking Dead show. It's dark, dystopian, scary, and surprising, and it has Rick Grimes, my favorite character from the entire series. Episode 1 was fantastic, outlining a timeline of what Rick has been doing since the accident at the bridge in Season 9 of the original series, and when we saw him at the series finale. In this video, I'll break down the first episode of The Ones Who Live and answer a few questions that might have confused the audience. Like, what is CRM? What did Okafor, the guy with the deepest voice I've ever heard in my entire life, want from Rick and Pearl? What happened to Omaha? And more? Let's go. What is CRM? I'll start by explaining what the CRM is, and then I'll give you a timeline of Rick after the explosion at the bridge. CRM stands for the Civic Republic Military, a military and police force that serves to protect the Civic Republic of Philadelphia, a city with over 200,000 residents. Even though the military aims to rebuild human society and civilization, and the Republic is supposed to be a democracy, they still operate under complete secrecy and security with authoritarian ways and harsh rules. They don't let anyone leave the city, for example, like Rick, who has been trying to escape for years, and they are responsible for mass genocides like the falling of the city of Omaha as shown in the first episode. While General Major Beale is the head of the military, Okafor is a lieutenant colonel, an upper high in the army who has secret plans to change the system. I'll talk more about this in a minute. Rick's timeline. Let's continue with what Rick has been up to since his disappearance from the main show. In Season 9, Rick was severely injured after being impaled on a rebar and then getting caught in the explosion that he started. Then we saw Anne/Jadis trading Rick to the Civic Republic and getting herself an entry there in the process. Now, in The Ones Who Live, 5 years after the bridge, Rick has become a consignee for the Civic Republic military. He has a room for himself at the military base outside the city. He's very much like a prisoner not allowed to leave. Consignees like him are the newly arrived ones, as Rick explains. They are put to work on the outskirts of the city for 6 years before getting permission to enter the city. They are supposed to kill walkers or grow food to prove themselves. During these 5 years, we learned that Rick has tried to escape a few times. His third attempt at escaping was the one we saw in the Walking Dead series finale. He wrote a letter to Michonne on the riverbank outside the Civic Republic, but a military helicopter caught him before he managed to fully escape. But he threw the rest of his belongings, including an old smartphone with illustrations of Michonne and Judith, into a nearby boat. As you know, Michonne found these later and understood that Rick was alive and hence started her search for him. After his third attempt at escape, Rick is now given a sort of leash. He works, but an officer responsible for him controls his movement. Rick doesn't give up, however, and starts his fourth attempt at escaping by cutting his hand, but still ends up unsuccessful. After this incident, with encouragement from his friend Esteban and insistence from Okafor, Rick decides to join the ranks of the military and trains for a year with a woman named Pearl Thorne. After a year of training, during which Rick also gets a sick new hand with a blade coming out of it, Okafor explains his secret plan for Rick and Pearl. Apparently, when new people arrive at the Civic Republic, they are called A's and B's. While B's are normal, everyday people just trying to survive, A's are strong-willed and independent-minded, hence dangerous for the authority of the Republic. Okafor says that both Rick and Pearl are A's, and even though they were supposed to be sent away or killed, Okafor kept them alive because of his plans for the two. He wants them to become leaders and rise through the military ranks. Meanwhile, Rick plans another escape with the help of Esteban, but is unsuccessful once again, this time thanks to a young girl and Pearl, who thinks Rick would have never managed to escape without jeopardizing his life and Michonne's because Okafor knows about him and his family. After this failed attempt and more time in training, Okafor says that Rick and Pearl are responsible for a new military base that will hold a summit a year later. So a year passes as the two work on the building and turn it into a functional area. And then the whole helicopter incident happens and the most awaited reunion between Rick and Michonne finally takes place. At this point, the show doesn't make it clear how many years have passed. Rick references years of training, and for the whole timeline to make sense, when Rick meets Michonne at the end of the episode, he must have been at the Republic for nearly 10 years. What happened to Omaha? Well, I should also talk about the fall of Omaha because it seems to be important in the story, and Rick's recollection of his childhood memory of a fire was also symbolically significant for this particular storyline. In the show, we learn that Omaha and Portland are two other cities that provide sanctuary. Rick and Pearl watch the news of Omaha's fall on a TV screen and try to figure out the cause. While Pearl thinks it was Omaha's fault the city fell, Rick understands that it was the Civic Republic who committed genocide. He sees the helicopters leaving the city with bombs, and he knows that too many people mean less food. The story of his childhood that he recounts in the helicopter shows his understanding of the events. He talks about how his father burned all the crops just to protect the plants for the next harvest, which turned out to be the best harvest they had ever seen. So the Civic Republic committed genocide against Omaha to prevent a potential famine, which not only shows the power of the Republic, but also the amount of brutality it can showcase. Final remarks. Overall, a great introduction to the story of Rick Grimes after The Walking Dead. I think we will also see what Michonne had been doing before she found Rick. I enjoyed the dream sequences as well, with Rick and Michonne in a world without the apocalypse, showing us what these two could have been if the circumstances were different. I would definitely watch a romantic comedy starring these two, by the way. What did you think of this episode? What will happen in the following ones? Tell me your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to next season for more videos like this. See you soon.